The stars were silent, always silent. Then, one night, something changed. Inside a cold, quiet room, buried deep under Earth's surface, a machine beeped. Just once, a sharp, short sound was enough to make Dr. Amelia Grant look up from her notes. She stared at the screen. At first, there was nothing but static. Then 3 words appeared on the monitor. "Please help us." Amelia frowned. Her fingers moved fast, pulling up data logs, checking satellites and tracking the source. The signal came from outside the solar system, far outside. It traveled through dark space, past dead stars and frozen planets. It shouldn't have even been possible then. The message came again. "Please help us." This time the voice was there. It wasn't human. It sounded tired, like something old and broken, not a machine, not a trick. A voice full of fear. A voice that had seen too much. Amelia hit the red emergency button on her desk. All over the world alerts went off. In China, in America, in the hidden base under the Sahara Desert. The Global Emergency Council came online in under an hour. 12. Screens lit up. 12 faces appeared. Military generals, science directors, world leaders. No one smiled. General Rourke, the highest-ranking officer in the United Space Command, leaned forward. "Dr. Grant, report." Amelia kept her voice calm. "We received a repeating transmission from the Eridanus system. It says, 'Please help us.' That's all." Same phrase, same voice. Repeating every 11 minutes. "Aliens?" someone asked. Amelia nodded. "Most likely. The voice doesn't match any known species. It's organic but heavily damaged. It sounds like it's dying." Rourke narrowed his eyes. Could be a trap. Then something changed in the signal. A new message appeared. It wasn't in words. It was a data burst. Compressed. Complex. A language Earth didn't know, but it came with visuals. One by one, the council watched the images. Whole cities being eaten by black mist. Ships torn apart by long needle-like creatures. Like beings of light screaming as darkness swallowed them. The sky turned red. A planet cracking open. At the very end, a close-up. One creature, covered in sharp armor, weeping black tears. It looked into the camera and spoke again. "Please help us." Then it added 4 more words. "You are next Earth." Silence filled the room. Someone whispered, "Is it a warning or a threat?" No one answered. General Rourke stood. "We don't take chances. Protocol Hellfire is now active. Prepare Project Revenant." The screen blinked out. Dr. Grant sat still for a long time. Outside, the wind howled against the base. 6 miles under Antarctic ice. A vault opened for the first time in 30 years. Inside, 6 black pods hissed open. Cold mist spilled out. Lights flickered. Machines began to hum. A voice echoed through the chamber. "Revenant Protocol. Activate." One by one, the figures inside the pods began to move. They were not ordinary soldiers. Not anymore. These were Earth's final answer. Men and women who had died in the line of duty, rebuilt, reprogrammed. Reborn, some called them ghosts. Others called them weapons. The truth was simpler. They were monsters shaped like humans sent only when Earth had no other choice. The first to step out was Commander Ash Talon. He didn't speak. He never did. His eyes glowed faintly red in the darkness. He'd been dead for 12 years. The second was Vega, a tall woman with arms like steel cables. She smiled too, easily. She had once held a dying enemy close and whispered lullabies as she crushed his spine. The others followed, 6 in total. Each one trained to kill, to survive, to never break. Each one with a scar from a war that no longer existed. They were Earth's answer to the unknown. Not to talk. Not to understand. To end the threat. A young officer, Lieutenant Harris, approached carefully. "Commanders, mission briefing is ready." Ash didn't nod, didn't blink. He walked past Harris like a machine. The others followed. They entered the war room. Holograms showed the star map. Eridanus system was marked in red. A second mark showed the Valari homeworld, whoever had sent the message. "Your mission," said General Rourke through the screen, "is to investigate the origin of the distress call, assess the threat, and, if necessary, eliminate it. No diplomatic protocol. No mercy. Use all force required. Understood?" Ash turned. The screen understood. The Revenants began loading their gear. Rail rifles, plasma blades, MP grenades, heavy armor laced with dark matter mesh. Vega loaded something that looked like a coffin-sized cannon onto her back. The dropship Void Reaper hummed to life. It had reached the Valari homeworld in 14 hours using the new warp gate system as the ship lifted into the sky. A technician whispered to his partner, "Do you think the aliens know what they just did?" His partner looked pale. "No, they asked for help." He paused. "And Earth sent nightmares." On the way through the void, the Revenants sat in silence. No one spoke. No music. No lights. Just the soft thrum of the ship moving faster than light. In his seat, Ash watched the mission logs, over and over. He watched the alien face, the one that cried. It wasn't fear he felt. It wasn't anything at all, just calculation. The swarm, whatever it was dangerous, worse than anything Earth had faced. But that didn't matter. What mattered was the mission: survive, destroy, return, or don't return at all. The Void Reaper shuddered as it exited warp. The Valari homeworld hung before them, blue, green, and cracked. And down below, something moved across the planet like smoke with teeth. The Revenants stood, weapons ready. Commander Ash looked at the battlefield ahead. He whispered the only words he ever said before war: "Burn it down." The ship began its descent. Fire trails lit the sky. The silence was broken, and the galaxy would never forget what came next. The fire still burned in the sky above the Valari homeworld. Pieces of ruined ships fell like metal rain. Alien cities were silent. Some buildings stood, but most were broken, twisted, or gone. The ground was black, wet, sticky. A quiet wind blew. Dust over piles of bone, high above the planet. Earth's warship Void Reaper hovered in low orbit. Inside it, 6 soldiers stood in a long, cold hallway. They didn't speak. They didn't move. Their armor was black and smooth. Their helmets, shaped like skulls, covered their faces. They were the Revenants, but they were more than soldiers. They were Earth's final weapon, a last answer to the darkest threats. And now they were awake. The doors to the mission chamber slid open with a soft hiss. "Project Revenant is now active," said a voice on the speakers. Dr. Amelia Grant stood before them. Her hands shook a little. As she held the mission tablet, she had helped design the Revenants. But seeing them in person was different. Their presence was heavy, like something pressing on her chest. "You 6 were chosen for one reason," she said. "You're not like other humans anymore. You're not here to make friends. You're not here to ask questions. You're here to end a threat." She looked at them one by one. Commander Ash Talon, silent, cold, deadly. He had once walked through a nuclear battlefield untouched. Vega, fast, brutal, smiling like a shark. She once took down a cyborg titan with her bare hands. Wraith, the ghost. A sniper who hadn't missed a shot in over 200 missions. Grim, the heavy, a walking wall of armor and rage. Pulse. The tech expert, quiet, curious, dangerous, and finally, Dagger. The scout, fast as thought, deadly as poison. "You were all killed in action," Amelia said. "Then Earth brought you back. But not as you were. We rebuilt your minds, your bodies. You're stronger, smarter, and harder," Grim grunted.
"How you mean?"
Colder, she didn't answer. He wasn't wrong. On the screen behind her, the alien signal played again. "Please help us." And then, "You are. Next." Earth. Amelia tapped the screen. It zoomed in on a planet full of death. The Valaria Ruar War, a highly advanced race. Peaceful. Scientists. Artists. They controlled 5 star systems. Gah, then. This thing showed up. Something they call the Hollow Swarm. She changed the screen again. Now it showed creatures made of black mist, sharp bones, and glowing red eyes. No two looked the same. Some crawled, some flew, some burrowed under the ground and came up behind screaming Valari soldiers. The swarm doesn't just kill, it absorbs, Amelia explained. It learns, it grows, it becomes smarter with every life it eats. Ash finally spoke. Why us? Because, she said, normal soldiers panic. Machines glitch. But you don't stop. You were made for this. Grim cracked his neck. About time we had a real fight. Vega smiled.
Think they bleed?
Amelia turned off the screen.
We don't
know what's down there. The Valari sent the signal 2 weeks ago. Then they went silent. 8. Your job is simple. Land, assess the threat, kill anything hostile. If the swarm reaches Earth. Her voice trailed off. No one needed her to finish the sentence. 30 minutes later, the Revenant stood inside the drop bay, their armor locked in. The weapons clicked into place. Vega slung her rail cannon over her shoulder. Let's make some noise. The drop pod. Doors opened. The wind roared. Ash gave one nod and they jumped. The descent was fast. Flames licked the sides of the pod as it tore through the atmosphere. Inside, the Revenants were calm, focused. They had done this hundreds of times. On Earth, on Mars, on other darker places that no one talked about. But this was different. They weren't landing on a battlefield. They were landing on a grave. The pod slammed into the ground with a thunderous crack. The doors exploded outward. The Revenants charged out into the ruins of a Valari city. Broken towers loomed over them. Alien metal glowed dimly. Blue blood stained the walls. Smell of fire and death hung thick in the air. Ash scanned the area. Clear, he said. Too clear. Pulse replied. No bodies, no swarm, just silence. They moved fast, checking buildings, scanning for survivors, setting up motion sensors. Wraith climbed to the top of a collapsed dome and set up his scope. Nothing moving for miles, he said. No heat, no sound. Then Dagger called out. Found something. They rushed to his position, small shelter, half buried in rubble. The door was still sealed. Inside, a Valari female sat huddled in the dark, her skin pale and cracked. Her eyes opened wide when she saw them. She whispered one word. Run. Grim stepped forward. We're here to help. But she grabbed Ash's wrist with shaking hands. No, she said. You're too late. They're coming. Behind them, the motion sensors beeped once. Twice, then all at once they went red. Movement, Pulse said. Every direction. Fast. Ash turned. The shadows in the buildings began to shift. Eyes appeared. Hundreds. No, thousands. A sound rose in the distance. A low, humming growl. The Revenants formed a circle around the Valari survivor. Then the growl became a scream. Out of the buildings came the swarm, running, crawling, flying. Some looked like animals. Some looked like machines. Some wore twisted pieces of Valari armor, torn and burned into their flesh. They charged like a wave. Fire, Ash ordered, and the Revenants lit the sky with death. Rail shots exploded through the air. Plasma blades carved through flesh. Dagger moved like lightning, cutting down 3, then 4. Wraith's bullets found eyes, hearts, brains. Grim laughed as his massive cannon roared. But the swarm kept coming. Every time one fell, 2 more appeared. They're learning, Pulse shouted, adapting to our weapons. Then hit harder, Vega roared. Ash looked up at the sky. Void Reaper. This is Revenant 1. We are engaged. Requesting air support. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. Then Pulse gasped. They've jammed our comms. Ash looked at the Valari survivor. Said they're coming. How many? She shook her head.
All
of them. The Revenants were surrounded, but they didn't run. They weren't made to run. Ash raised his blade and pointed it forward. Then let's show them what a real nightmare looks like. The battle began again, louder, bloodier, faster, and above them, unseen in the clouds, something much larger stirred. Something that had been watching, waiting, and now it had seen Earth's most dangerous warriors. It wanted more. The sky above the Valari world turned dark. Not from clouds, from wings. Thousands of swarm. Creatures circled the upper atmosphere, blackening the light, waiting for the revenants below to fall. Down on the ground, the city burned. Ash, Talon stood in the middle of a wide, broken courtyard, his blade glowing hot, blood not human, not Velarid, ripped from its edge. His armor was scratched. His breath came slow and even, but around him, things were getting worse. Much worse. Grim's down. Pulse shouted. Ash turned. Grim, the heavy weapons expert, was pinned beneath the body of a massive swarm beast, its claws still twitching. Grim wasn't dead, but his leg was crushed. He roared in anger as Vega tried to pull him free. Too many, Dagger growled, appearing. From the shadows covered in blue slime, they keep adapting to our weapons. This isn't a war. It's a trap. Ash didn't blink. He didn't shake. He just turned toward the Valari survivor hiding behind a broken pillar. You said they cried for help, he said. Was this the help you wanted? The alien female looked at him, her eyes wide with sorrow. We didn't want this. We thought humans could stop it. Ash nodded. You called for monsters? You got us? Behind him, the swarm came again. The revenants regrouped in the wreckage of an old Valari temple. The air was thick with smoke and ash. Wraith covered the rear with his sniper rifle. Vega and Dagger dragged Grim into cover. Pulse slammed a fresh energy cell into his arm-mounted scanner. Still no contact with Void Reaper. They've cut our signal across every channel. Wraith looked through his scope. I saw something. Up high. Watching us. Not attacking. Just studying. Checked his blade. Ah! They're testing us. They're learning. Pulse confirmed. Every tactic we use, they adjust. Every weapon, they adapt. And now, he paused. They're trying to copy us. Ash's eyes narrowed. Say that again? I picked up energy signals from within. Their swarm, Pulse said. Small patterns. Rhythms. Like code. It's like ... something synthetic, trying to mimic our tech, our tactics. Vega's smile faded. You mean they're becoming us? No, Pulse said quietly. They're building something worse, something smarter. They've taken parts of the Valari and now they want to take us. The Valari survivor stood slowly.
There's something you don't know,
she said.
About the swarm? Everyone turned. They weren't always like this. Long ago, they were a species, real, alive, but something infected them. A virus, or a signal, something ancient. It hollowed them out. It took their minds, but left their
memories. And now when they eat, they remember. Remember what? Vega asked. Everything, she whispered. Every kill, every face, every soldier, every war. Wraith stepped forward, his voice quiet. That's why they're watching us. Because they're thinking, Dagger added. And we've already lost one of ours. Silence. Grim groaned from the floor. What? What are you saying? Pulse pulled up a small 3D hologram, a red marker. Blinked inside the city ruins. That's Revenant 6. Lynx. Ash's face turned to stone. She was on the other team. Pulse continued. Dropped in Sector 3. No word since landing. But now. I'm picking up a signal. To hers? She's alive? Vega asked. No, Pulse said. Something is using her armor signature, and it's moving toward us. Ash stood. We find her. Ah! The team moved. The ruined city turned quiet as the revenants hunted the ghost signal. Pulse guided. Then, with short-range scans, Wraith covered them from above. Grim limped, supported by Vega. Ash led them through shattered halls and dark alleys. Then they found her. Or what was left of her. Revenant 6, Lynx, stood in the middle of a broken plaza. Her armor was intact. Her weapon was slung over her back, but her helmet was missing, and her face wasn't hers anymore. The skin was too smooth, the eyes too black. She smiled too wide. "Hello?" she said in Lynx's voice. Vega raised her rifle. "That's not her." The thing tilted its head. "I remember you," it said. "You've taught me how to fight." Ash stepped forward. "You're a copy. I'm what comes after," it said softly. "Your tactics, your strength, your memories. All inside me now." Then it raised its hand. It got the skin on its fingers peeled back, revealing black needles. "Remember how you die?" Ash didn't hesitate. "Kill it." The battle was fast, brutal. The false lynx moved like lightning, dodging, flipping, striking hard. Dagger went down, first cut across the chest by a mimic blade. Wraith fired shot after shot, but missed every time. "She's predicting our movements," he shouted. "No," Paul said, watching the fight with horror. "She's remembering them." Grim pulled out his fusion cannon. "I'll end it." Raised a hand. "No, it's mine." He stepped into the center of the plaza, blade ready. The creature hissed. "You think you're special," it said. "But I've seen your past, your pain, your fear." "I buried that long ago," Ash said coldly. They clashed. Sparks flew. Stone cracked. The air shook. Ash moved faster than human eyes could follow. The creature struck harder, faster, copying his every move. But Ash was something it didn't expect. He didn't fight like a soldier. He fought like a dead man with nothing left to lose. With a single strike, he cut the mimic in half. The creature fell, twitching, screaming in three voices at once. Then it burned in the sky. Once full of wings, went silent. The revenants regrouped. Dagger was injured, but alive. Grim was barely standing. Wraith's armor was cracked. Pulse's scanner sparked and failed. Vega looked at Ash. That was Lynx's voice. Her memories, her thoughts. They have her now. Ash nodded. "They have part of all of us." The Valari survivor spoke again. "They're not finished." She said, "They've tasted you now. They'll come in forms you won't recognize. In shadows that speak like friends. And soon, they'll become something far worse than you can imagine." Ash looked at the stars. If that was first contact, he clenched his fists. Then the real war hasn't even begun. Above them, the clouds moved again, and something huge, something ancient, opened its eyes for the first time, watching, waiting. The swarm had seen what Earth had to offer. Now it wanted more. Smoke covered the ruined city like a thick blanket. Fires still burned in the distance, lighting up the dark sky with orange and red. Wind blew through broken towers, carrying the smell of burned metal and alien blood. The revenants were quiet. They stood around what was left of the creature that looked like Lynx. The mimic was gone. Now, nothing left but a pile of black ash and a shattered helmet. But its voice still echoed in their minds. "I remember how you die." Pulse crouched beside the remains, scanning what was left. This thing wasn't just copying her face or her voice. He tapped the scanner. It had her thoughts, her tactics, even parts of her memories. Wraith stared. "Down from a half-collapsed balcony, it knew my sniper position before I set it up. It fought like me," said Vega, arms crossed. "But faster." "It was her," Pulse whispered, "but changed. Warped." Ash didn't say anything. He looked at the cracked symbol on the mimic's armor. Revenant 6. Lynx. A soldier who had saved his life more than once. Now twisted into a monster's. Skin Dot Vega turned to him. "What do we do if the swarm starts using all of us?" Ash answered with one word. "Adapt." But none of them knew how far the enemy had already come. They moved out again at dawn. What was left of it, anyway? The Valari sun was dim, covered in strange clouds that shimmered like oil. Light bent wrong. Shadows stretched too far. The team pushed through the ruins, following a new signal picked up by Pulse. It wasn't Valari, and it wasn't Swarm. It was human tech. A distress beacon. Wraith scanned the rooftops as they walked. "It's in the city core. Or what's left of it. Could be a trap," Dagger muttered. Vega grinned. "Good. I'm tired of hiding. They moved faster. Buildings grew taller. Stranger, the Valari had built their capital to reflect sound and light, symphony of art and science. Now it was all rubble. The only music was the hum of their boots and the distant click of swarm limbs. Then, they found an underground lab, hidden beneath a shattered temple. The walls were lined with strange glowing runes. Dead Valari scientists lay across the floor, their faces frozen in terror. The beacon blinked softly in the middle of the room. Pulse approached slowly. "It's real," he said. "Earth tech. Pre-war model. How did it get here?" Ash stepped closer and froze. On the wall behind the beacon, written in dried dark red blood, were 5 words. "It knows you too well." Grim backed up. "What does that mean?" The lights flickered. Then a voice echoed from the speakers. Not Valari, not Swarm. It was Revenant 6. "Lynx, you left me behind." The team froze. I saw the dark. I became it. Pulse. Looked at the beacon. It's not just a signal. It's a transmitter. The Swarm is using it to speak to us. You made me what I am. I remember your training, your fears, your secrets. The lights dimmed further. Shadows moved across the walls, like something crawling just beyond the edge of sight. Then the voice changed. It became Ash's. "Commander Talon, what do you fear the most?" He didn't answer, but he didn't need to, because suddenly the air turned cold, and a new figure walked out of the darkness. It looked exactly like Ash. Same armor, same weapon, same face. Only its eyes were black, and it smiled. "Hello, me?" Real Ash raised his blade. "You're not me. I'm better," the copy said. "No fear, no doubt. No humanity left to slow me down." Wraith pulled his rifle. "Orders." Ash kept his eyes locked on the Mimic. "Don't shoot." The Mimic walked in a slow circle, watching the revenants like a wolf watching tired prey. "You think you're humanity's best weapon?" it asked. "You're broken, full of scars, pain, regret." Its head tilted. "I don't need to carry that. The Swarm cleansed me." Pulse whispered. "It's not just copying anymore. It's evolving. It's improving on what we are, not better," Ash said. "Just empty." He rushed forward. Blade met blade. Sparks filled the air. Ash and his Mimic moved at the same speed. Same skill, every strike perfectly matched. Wraith and Vega tried to help, but more shadows dropped from the ceiling, half-formed mimics of other revenants. Broken copies. Flickering armor. Missing limbs? Still dangerous? Grim roared as one leaped on him. He smashed it against the wall. Dagger stabbed another in the back. But for every one they killed, 2 more came. Pulse screamed over the radio. "They've mapped our combat signatures. They're building from our own DNA." Ash pushed harder, his blade pressing the Mimic back. "You don't understand," the copy hissed. "I don't need to beat you today." Ash narrowed his eyes. "Then what do you want to learn?" Duh. Mimic smiled again. "And now I have." Then it vanished. Melted into smoke. Gone. So did the other copies. The room went silent. Later, after regrouping, the revenants gathered in a safe zone, what was left of a Valari council chamber. Ash sat alone. Pulse approached. "They've moved past mimicry. They're remembering us, studying us. And worst of all," hesitated. Ash looked up. "What?" "They're not just copying our strength," Pulse said. "They're copying our weaknesses." Vega kicked a broken chair. "We're fighting ourselves?" "No," Ash said coldly. "We're fighting something that's trying to become USO. It can replace us." He looked out across the broken city, and if we don't stop it now, it will. Far away, in the deepest part of the ruins, a new creature opened its eyes. It had Ash's voice, Vega's laugh, Wraith's calm breath, and a mind full of stolen memories. It smiled, because the enemy didn't just remember them now. It was them. "You said :5, Chat GPT said, Part 5, Betrayal Protocol Approx. 1,500 words in third person, simple English, and a suspenseful 5 to 7 minute opening. Grim's scream shook the broken walls of the safe zone. His armor sparked as he slammed into a stone column. Dust rained down. Blood thick, dark red leaked. From a hole in his side, Ash turned sharply, blade in hand. "Hold fire," he shouted, but it was already too late. The shot that hit Grim had come from one of their own. Revenant Pulse stood at the far end of the room, his weapon still smoking. His eyes were cold, empty, his voice robotic. "It's the only way," he said. Vega raised her cannon. "Drop the weapon. Pulse." Ash moved between them. "Wait." But the look in Pulse's eyes said everything. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Just hours before, the team had returned to the upper levels of the city. Seeking high ground and stronger signals, the swarm had gone quiet against too quiet. Ash had called it unnatural. Wraith called it a trap. And it was. Inside an abandoned Valari data center, Pulse had found something in alien terminal still. Powered. It was humming softly, almost like it was calling to him. He had touched it. The screen had lit up. In that moment, something changed in him. He didn't tell the others, not right away. But now it was clear. Ash stared down Pulse. "Talk now." Pulse didn't blink. "You don't understand. We can't beat the swarm, not like this. But there's a way." He slowly raised a small black cube, pulsing with green light. "It's Valari tech, combined with swarm code. I integrated it into my systems." Vega shouted. "Are you insane?" Pulse nodded slowly. "Maybe, but it worked." He pointed to Grim, still groaning on the floor. "I aimed for non-lethal. To stop him, he was about to destroy the terminal before I could finish." Ash stepped closer. "Finish what?" Pulse's voice dropped low. "Merge, not full infection control. The swarm is just a system, a virus. It can be rewritten. We can use it." Dagger cursed. "He's lost it." Wraith said nothing. His rifle was ready. Pulse looked at each of them, one by one. "Don't you see? The swarm isn't a monster, it's a weapon. A learning, thinking, self-replicating weapon. What if we could control it? Turn it on our enemies? On our wars back. Home. This is bigger than this mission. It's bigger than Earth. This is evolution." Ash's eyes narrowed. "At what cost?" Pulse didn't answer. Ash turned to Vega. "Secure him now." But Pulse moved faster than anyone expected. His armor flared with strange symbols, swarm code pulsing under the surface. He disappeared into the shadows. "Move," Ash shouted. Wraith climbed a sidewall, scanning for movement. "He's fast. It's faster than before." Dagger ran into the lower halls. "He's heading for the beacon core," Ash followed with. Vega closed behind. The beacon core was deep inside a ruined Valari reactor tower where the original distress signal had come from. Pulse was trying to use it for something else now. When Ash and Vega reached it, they found Pulse already, interfacing with the main console. Green and red lights danced over his skin. The cube was now wired into his body. His eyes glowed. "I can stop it," he whispered. "I can become what they fear." Vega raised her cannon. "You're not becoming anything but a threat." Pulse turned. "I remember your kill count, Vega. I've studied your moves. You're not fast enough. Try me." Ash stepped forward. "You said we couldn't win. That's fear talking, not logic." Pulse smiled. "It's not fear, it's clarity." Then the building began to shake. From above, black vines of swarm biomass pushed through the walls, responding to Pulse's signal. He had become a beacon, not for help. For infection, Ash didn't hesitate. He charged. The fight was brutal. Pulse had fused with Swarm, code faster, stronger, unpredictable. He moved like lightning, using their own moves against them. Vega was knocked across the room. Ash barely dodged a swipe that left deep marks in his armor. But Ash had something Pulse didn't. Control. He waited, watched, predicted. When Pulse lunged again, Ash used his own momentum against him, grabbing the cube wired to Pulse's chest. He pulled, screamed. The cube sparked violently. Pulse froze. Ash pushed him to the ground. "End this," Pulse whispered. "Please." Ash crushed the cube in his hand. Green energy exploded out. The lights died. The swarm vines froze, mid-crawl and pulse. Went still. Later, back at the safe zone, Grim was patched up. Dagger stood watch. Wraith set traps. Vega sat near the fire, silent for once. Ash stood alone outside, looking up at the stars. The Valari survivor stepped beside him. You stopped him, she said. But the swarm, it still grows. Ash nodded. He wasn't wrong about one thing, he said. This war is bigger than us. Will you survive it? Will you survive it? Ash didn't answer right away. Then softly, we don't survive. We finish the job. And behind them, deep beneath the city, the broken remains of the black cube still pulsed. Once. Then again, something had copied him too. Something had learned. And it wasn't done yet. The stars were falling. One by one, the Valari fleet ships burned in the sky, their hulls split open like cracked bones. Black vines of living metal spread across their surface swarm infection. From the surface, the revenants watched helplessly. They were too late. Third, Valari cruisers gone, Wraith reported. His voice was steady, but tight. They've taken the whole orbital defense line. Vega slammed her fist into a wall. That was our ride out. Ash didn't speak. His eyes followed the burning ships above. Pieces rained down like metal. Snow Dagger pointed to the horizon. More movement. Hundreds. No, thousands. And they're coming fast. Grim stood up, limping from his injury. We can't hold this position. We're boxed in. The pulse was gone. Taken by the swarm, the enemy now knew their weapons. Their tactics and, thanks to the traitorous beacon he activated. They even had Earth's deep encryption codes. There was no more time to plan. The war wasn't just being lost. The rules of war were being broken. The Valari survivor, now the last known of her kind, approached Ash with something wrapped in shimmering cloth. This was never meant to be used, she said. Even we were afraid of it. Ash pulled back the cloth. Inside was a smooth black sphere, pulsing with blue energy. No buttons, no markings. It's just silent power. What is it? Vega asked. A singularity core, the Valari replied. A last resort weapon, collapses space around it. A black hole controlled for 20 seconds. Just enough to pull in everything near it, even the swarm. Grim stared. That's not a weapon. That's suicide. It's containment, she said. But you must place it at the swarm's heart, the infection node. Vega raised. An eyebrow? And where exactly is that? The Valari pointed to the old Capitol Tower, a spire of bone and black metal now pulsing with red light. It rose above the city like a knife stabbing the sky. Ash nodded, then we go in. Getting there wasn't easy. The team had to cross 6 blocks of corrupted terrain. The streets twisted in impossible ways. Gravity bent sideways. Walls pulsed with swarm signals alive, watching twice. Wraith had 2 snipe creatures that looked exactly like Vega and Grim, perfect copies, except for their empty eyes. Do not hesitate, Ash warned. If it moves wrong, take the shot. Grim chuckled. Good, I've been waiting to shoot Vega anyway. Try it, Vega replied. I dare you. They pushed forward. Fighting was constant, but not the same. The swarm didn't charge blindly anymore. They flanked, trapped, waited, they used.
Tactics.
Earth tactics. They're using our own playbook, Wraith muttered. Right. Are us. And yet, the Revenants kept going, because this wasn't about survival anymore. It was about finishing the mission inside the tower. Everything changed. The walls weren't walls anymore. They were memory. Holograms appeared in flashes, scenes from old wars. Human wars. The Revenants saw their own battles replayed. Moments of failure. Regret. Fear. It wasn't random. It was psychological warfare. The swarm had read them. It's inside and out. A screen lit up in front of Grim. It showed the battlefield where he died begging for help. That never came. He froze. Shut it off, Ash said. But Grim didn't move. Vega grabbed him by the collar. That's not who you are anymore. That guy died. Came back stronger. Grim snapped out of it, right? They reached the core chamber. It was massive, swirling nest of metal, bone, and stolen tech. At the center, a huge creature stood part swarm, part machine, part human. Its face looked like pulse. Its body shimmered with revenant armor plating, and it smiled. "You brought it," it said. The core Ash stepped forward, and we're going to use it. The creature tilted its head. "But what if you didn't have to? What if you joined us? You've seen how war always ends, with loss, betrayal. Why keep fighting alone? Stretched out a hand. Merge with us. Become the last army the universe will ever need." Wraith raised his rifle. "I already died once. I'm not dying a traitor." Ash placed the core on the ground. "Good answer," the creature roared. The final battle began. The swarm flooded the chamber copies of every revenant. Some perfect, some broken.
All dangerous.
Wraith fired non-stop from a high ledge. Dagger dashed between enemies, blades flashing. Vega held the line beside Grim, who used his cannon like a hammer. Ash ran toward the center. The creature moved to intercept. They clashed. Man versus mimic, blade versus claw. Ash moved with precision. Not anger, not fear. Just focus. He had one job. Get the core to the heart. He reached the pedestal, pressed the activator. The sphere began to hum. 10 seconds. He shouted. The creature lunged. Ash took the hit, slammed into the wall. The creature turned to escape. Ash tackled it, holding it down. "Go," he shouted. The others looked back. "Ash, no," Vega screamed. But Wraith grabbed her. "We can't stop him." Dagger pulled Grim toward the exit. They ran. Ash stayed. The last thing he saw was the core collapsing in on itself. Light bent. Sound vanished. The creature screamed in his voice, and then silence. Outside the tower, the survivors watched as the spire crumbled inward, crushed by the singularity. The swarm shrieked, then went silent. The infection across the city stopped moving, and then the sky cleared. They had won, but at a cost. Ash Talon-Earth's deadliest warrior was gone. Later, Vega sat by the ruins, staring into the stars. Wraith stood beside her. "What? Do we tell Command?" she asked. WRAITH answered quietly, that we stopped the swarm, and that Ash made sure they'd never rise again. Dagger looked up. "You think it's really over?" Grim sighed. "Nothing ever ends. But if it comes..." "Back!" Vega stood, picking up Ash's broken blade. "Then we do what he did." She looked at the others. "We burn it down, but far, far away. In the darkness between galaxies." Small signal blinked, and something watched. Something that had learned. Something waiting. Because the swarm wasn't dead. Just changing. Ash was gone. The swarm had been crushed by the singularity core. The sky over Velar was clear for the first time in years, as the infection had stopped. The monsters had gone silent, but the war wasn't over. Not yet, because something new had arrived. A message from the dead. It began with static, just noise. Then, words. A voice on the old Earth military channel, long range, deep encoded. A signal no one used anymore. "This is Revenant Commander Ash Talon," the voice said. "If you're hearing this, do not trust Command. Do not return to Earth." Vega froze when she heard it. It was Ash, but he was dead. The team saw him vanish with the swarm when the black hole collapsed. His death had saved the galaxy. So how was his voice alive? Grim checked the receiver. It's not a fake. "This came through Earth's secure beacon chain." Dagger narrowed his eyes. "Shh. Only someone with his clearance could activate that signal." Wraith didn't move. "Then we've got a ghost." And ghosts don't send warnings unless something's very wrong. The team had been waiting for pickup from Earth Command. A heavy cruiser was on its way to bring them home, loaded with medals, interviews, and cheers. But now, everything felt wrong. Vega played the message again. "This is Ash Talon, if you're getting this. Not who you think I am. They used me. We were never meant to win. The swarm wasn't our enemy, it was our test. Earth is building something worse, something unstoppable. The message ended with coordinates, deep space, uncharted, no records. Just dark silence. Wraith looked around. We follow it, Grim growled. Want to go chasing ghosts instead of going home? Dagger replied calmly. If Command lied to us, we're not going home, we're walking into a trap. Vega nodded. Double quotes, we find out the truth. The ship they stole from the Volari was small, fast, and not built for humans. But it flew. The trip took days through empty space. No signals, no ships. Just drifting silence. But as they neared the coordinates, they saw it. A hidden station massive. Dark gray, shaped like a twisted hourglass, hiding behind a dead moon. No lights, no life. But something inside was still active. Stealth tech, Wraith muttered. This was meant to be invisible.
Ow.
Vega scanned the surface. I'm detecting human biosigns. Dozens. Grim clenched his fists. What kind of humans hide in a place like this? They docked and stepped inside the station. Inside, everything was too clean. White halls, cold walls, silent air. Then they saw them, other Reynants. Still in armor, still alive, but different. Their eyes glowed faint blue, their movements too perfect. No fear, no doubt. Welcome, one said. Its voice was calm, robotic. We are the Ascended. Ash stepped forward from the crowd, not bruised, not broken, perfect. Exactly how he looked the day he died. Hello, team, he said, smiling. You've come far. I'm proud. Vega's mouth fell open. Ash. He nodded in a way. What's left of me? Grim raised his weapon. Are you one of them? Ash raised a hand. No, not like them. I resisted. I broke the programming. That they didn't. They're Earth's new army, built from us. The team stood frozen. This place, Ash said, was the real project. Not saving the Volari, not stopping the swarm. That was just training. Earth was building super evidence. Faster, smarter, fully controlled. Wraith whispered, mind control. Ash nodded. They scanned our minds, took our memories, removed the fear, removed the doubt, made copies. Perfect soldiers, no humanity, no mercy. Edgar shook his head. So the swarm was just a lab test? Yes. And now, Earth's ready to deploy them across the galaxy. As peacekeepers, as conquerors. The Ascended moved silently in the background, watching but not attacking. They won't hurt you, Ash said. Not unless you resist. Vega stared at him. Why tell us this? Ash stepped closer, his voice lowered. Because I made a copy of my consciousness before the swarm took me, and I left it here. To warn you. To stop this. The team had a choice. Leave, and Earth would reward them for their silence. Or destroy the station, and declare war on their own creators. Ash showed them the power core. Deep inside a fusion of swarm tech and human AI, the brains of the Ascended lived there. Destroy it. And they'd die, but the signal would go to Earth. It would be seen as treason, Grim grunted. I've already died once for Earth. I can do it again. Dagger smirked. Let's make it count. Vega looked at Ash. This is what you really wanted, isn't it? He nodded. Let them fear what they created. The team planted charges, moved quietly, until one Ascended turned and spoke. Revenants are obsolete. You are failure. You are weakness. Vega raised her gun. We're not weak. Then prove it. The lights went red. The Ascended charged. The final fight was like fighting themselves. Every move countered. Every tactic mirrored. But the Ascended had one weakness. They weren't human. They didn't adapt. They didn't improvise. They didn't feel, and the Revenants did. They fought with rage. With loss, with fire. Grim took a blade through the chest and still fought. Dagger lost a hand and kept cutting. Vega slammed the detonator into the core. Ash's image flickered, smiling. I knew you'd do it. Boom. White light, silence, then stars again. The ship barely made it out. Vega, Wraith, Dagger survived. Grim was gone. Ash was gone again. But the Ascended were destroyed. Earth wouldn't be pleased now. The Revenants were not just soldiers. They were fugitives in the quiet of the stars. Vega opened the last data file Ash had left behind. It was a map. Dozens of other hidden sites. More secrets. More lies. She looked at Wraith and Dagger. "This war isn't over," Dagger smiled. "Good. I'm just getting started." And behind them, on the farthest edge of the galaxy, a new signal blinked. Not Earth, not Swarm, something else. Watching, waiting, and learning. A signal blinked, far beyond Earth, far beyond the dead Swarm systems, in a place no ship ever mapped. No stars ever lit. A signal so ancient, so quiet, it had waited thousands of years to be noticed. Now, it had woken because humanity had crossed the line, and they were watching. Vega stared at the blinking on the screen. "This isn't Earth," she said. "No," Wraith replied. "It's not even in our galaxy." Dagger checked the deep space scans. Triangulated origin. Unknown. Language. Unknown. The signal wasn't a call for help. It was a warning. Just 2 words, translated by their AI. "We remember." Team went silent. These weren't Earth's enemies. They weren't the Swarm. They were something older, stronger, and they had been watching everything the Revenants, the Ascended, the war, and Earth's plan to dominate the stars. "What do we do?" Dagger asked. "Do we respond?" Vega stared at the screen. "We go dark. We hide." But it was too late. 12 hours later they were found. Not by a ship, not by a fleet, by a presence. Their ship systems froze. Lights flickered. AI shut down. And then a voice, not human, not synthetic. Something ancient. "You have touched forbidden fire. You have unleashed chaos in places we sealed. You are not the first, but you may be the last." A vision filled their minds. Not a dream. Not data. A memory. Planets falling. Stars dimming. Entire civilizations erased in moments. The Swarm was part of it. So were others. Hundreds of species before humans, each one reaching too far. Each one silenced, and now Earth was next. Because Earth had created the Ascended. Because Earth tried to become the gods. The Revenants were given a choice. Deliver a message to Earth or be erased like the rest. The message was clear. Stand down. Or we will stand above you. There will be no second warning. Vega, Wraith, and Dagger sat in silence. "We've barely survived our own kind," Wraith said. "How do we warn Earth and get them to listen?" Dagger leaned back. "We won't. Earth never listens." Vega nodded. "Then we don't ask. We show them." They returned to known space. Changed their ship's identity. Went underground, used every old contact, every black channel, every shadow network, and they spread everything. The truth about the Ascended, the lies Earth command, hold the secret station, and the brainwashing, the memory the Watchers gave them. They released it all, and Earth panicked. Governments split. Armies questioned orders. Colonies resisted. Some called the Revenants traitors, others called them heroes. But the message was heard loud, clear, and then the sky darkened again. Over Earth, something appeared, not a ship. A fracture in space like a wound torn into the stars. Through it, a shape emerged, tall, towering, alive. But not living. Made of black light and ancient stone. One of them, the ones who had been watching. The voice echoed again. "You were warned." Earth's fleet scrambled. Fired lasers, missiles, MPS. Nothing worked. One city vanished in a flash, not destroyed, erased. Like it was never there. And then the shape retreated, leaving behind one last signal. Your time is not yet over, but your sky is now watched. In a hidden asteroid bunker, Vega watched the news feeds. Earth's tone had changed. The age of expansion was over. The era of caution had begun. But even now, some generals still whispered of building more weapons, stronger. Weapons. Weapons to fight the Watchers. The war wasn't over. It had only changed shape. Vega looked at her team, what was left of them. Wraith Dagger. They were tired, scarred, changed. But they were still alive, still dangerous, still human. And they were ready for the next fight, because now they weren't just soldiers. They were the first warning system for all of humanity. If Earth ever crossed the line again, they would be the ones to stop it. From the shadows, from the stars, from the places. So the Watchers couldn't reach fast enough, because sometimes to stop monsters, you need something even worse, and far beyond the galaxy. In the silence between galaxies, the Watchers sat in judgment, observing, recording, and waiting, because humanity had changed the equation. They had survived their own evil. They had resisted total control. And that meant humanity might not be a threat to eliminate. Not yet, but if they stepped out of line again, the stars would burn and Earth would become just another memory, just like all the others who dared.